Welcome back to Old Charles. Look at this. Really, look at it. To most, it's nothing. A piece of metal. A forgotten bit of change at the bottom of a jar. It's the kind of thing you might overlook completely. But what if I told you that this tiny coin, this 25 centimos from 1986, holds within it a story of a nation in turmoil, a story of a dramatic fall from power, and a story that continues to spark debate among collectors to this very day. This is not just a coin. This is an artifact from a pivotal moment in Philippine history. This is the 1986 25 centimo, and its tale is one of the most fascinating in all of numismatics. Stick with me because we are going to dive deep into why this little coin is so significant, and we are going to tackle the big question head-on. What is its real value? First, let's talk about what we are looking at. The 1986 25 centimo is a small aluminum coin. It's lightweight. It features the San Francisco church on the reverse side, a beautiful architectural design. And on the obverse, the profile of a man, Ferdinand Marcos. Now, the date 1986 is the key. It is the final year these coins were minted under the Marcos regime, and that is the absolute core of its story. 1986 was the year of the People Power Revolution. Widespread public discontent, allegations of massive corruption, and the assassination of Benigno Aquino Jr. led to a snap election. Marcos claimed victory, but the people believed the election was stolen. What followed was a peaceful uprising that captured the world's attention. Millions of Filipinos took to the streets of EDSA, and without a single shot being fired in anger, they forced Ferdinand Marcos and his family to flee the country into exile. Corazon Aquino became the new president, and one of the very first symbolic acts of her new government was to address the currency. Coins and banknotes with the portrait of the ousted dictator were now politically toxic. They were seen as symbols of a corrupt and authoritarian regime. So, the Central Bank of the Philippines, under the new administration, made a monumental decision. They demonetized the entire existing coin series that bore Marcos's likeness. That means they officially declared these coins as no longer being legal tender. They were pulled from circulation. They were to be taken out of the economy and melted down. The goal was to erase the physical reminder of Marcos from everyday life. And this brings us back to our little 25 centimo. This coin was minted in that final turbulent year of 1986. But because of the revolution and the subsequent demonetization, it had a very, very short circulation life. Many of these coins were indeed returned to the central bank and destroyed. But, and this is a crucial but, some survived. Some slipped through the cracks. Some were kept as souvenirs, as historical mementos, by people who lived through those dramatic days. So when we talk about value, we have to talk about two things: historical value and numismatic value. The historical value is immense. This coin is a tangible piece of that revolution. It represents the end of an era. For a historian or someone passionate about Philippine history, this coin is priceless. Now, for the numismatic value, the value to a collector, this is where things get very interesting. You will see these coins for sale online. You will see listings with wildly different prices. So, what is the truth? Let's break it down. The first thing you need to know is that the 1986 25 centimo is not rare. Not in the grand scheme of things. Millions were minted. Even with the meltdown, a huge number of these coins still exist in collections, in jars, in old drawers. Because so many people saved them thinking they would be rare one day, the market is actually flooded with them. So if you have a typical circulated 1986 25 centimo, one that is scratched, worn, and faded, its value is minimal. We are talking about a value of maybe a few pesos. It is essentially worth its weight as a historical curiosity. However, and this is a big however, there are exceptions. The value skyrockets based on one thing and one thing only: condition, condition, condition. This is a brilliant uncirculated coin. This is a coin that never entered public circulation. It was saved directly from the mint roll, perhaps by a bank teller or an early collector. It has no wear, no scratches, no imperfections. It has its original mint luster. In this state, the 1986 25 Sentimo becomes a truly desirable item. For a brilliant uncirculated specimen, you could be looking at a value that is tens or even hundreds of times more than a worn coin. But we have to be realistic. We are not talking about thousands of dollars here. Even in perfect condition, the market saturation keeps the price relatively modest compared to other classic rare coins. You might see them valued from a few dollars to perhaps $20 or $30 for an absolutely flawless piece in a top-tier holder. Some collectors specialize in finding varieties, small errors that occurred during the minting process. These can include doubled dies, where the design is slightly doubled, repunched dates, or off-center strikes. A genuine error coin, especially a dramatic one, can command a significant premium over the standard issue. So if your 1986 25 Sentimo looks a little weird, a little different, it might be worth getting it authenticated by a professional grading service. So to give you the straight answer you came for, what is the value of a 1986 25 Sentimo coin? If it's worn and circulated, its value is primarily historical. It's a cool piece of history, worth keeping, but not worth a lot of money. If it is in brilliant uncirculated condition, its value is higher, perhaps in the range of $5 to $30 depending on the buyer and the exact quality. And if it is a certified error variety, then all bets are off, and its value is whatever a specialist collector is willing to pay for that specific anomaly. So should you run to the bank and cash in your 1986 25 Sentimo? Probably not. But what you should do is appreciate it. Hold it in your hand and think about the year it was made. Think about the hope and the fear and the power of the people that made this small coin a relic of a revolution. In that sense, its true value can never be measured in cents or pesos. Its value is as a storyteller, a silent witness to a day when a nation changed its own destiny. The history of the Philippine 25 Sentimos coin is a journey through the nation's economic and political evolution. Its story begins not in 1986, but much earlier, intertwined with the country's complex relationship with Spain and the United States. The very unit, the Sentimo, derives from the Spanish Sentimo, a reflection of over 3 centuries of Spanish colonial rule. When the United States took control after the Spanish-American War in 1898, a new currency system was introduced based on the peso, divided into 100 centavos. The term Sentimo is the Filipino adaptation of the Spanish centimo. The first coins recognizable as modern Philippine currency were issued by the Commonwealth in the late 1930s, and then after independence in 19